My sister-in-law's DNA kit to ruin my marriage backfired when her son's test revealed shocking truths about her own family. My sister-in-law's DNA test backfired and exposed her own family's secrets. I met my husband, James, in our late 20s, and we quickly fell in love. After 2 years of dating, we got married and built a peaceful, happy life together. When we welcomed our beautiful son, Nathan, our family felt complete. I believed nothing could ever come between us, until Sarah, my sister-in-law, decided to interfere in the worst way possible. From the moment James introduced me to Sarah, I knew we wouldn't get along. I tried, but she never made an effort. At her wedding, she accused me of trying to outshine her just because I wore a cream-colored dress, despite the fact that she had chosen cream dresses for all her bridesmaids. Still, she turned it into a dramatic spectacle, claiming I was stealing her spotlight. From that day forward, it was non-stop sarcasm, backhanded compliments, and petty competition. If I wore a new dress, Sarah would smirk and say, "That's cute, but I liked it better when I saw it in the store last year." If Nathan accomplished something, she'd brush it off and compare him to her son, Tommy. Despite her behavior, James and I ignored her and focused on ensuring Nathan and Tommy grew up close, like brothers. But everything changed last Christmas when Sarah took things too far. For Christmas, she gifted Nathan a DNA test kit. At first, I didn't think much of it. Nathan has always been fascinated by science and family history. But later that night, James pulled me aside. He said Sarah had made some cryptic comments to him like, "It's about time you got some answers and the truth always comes out." That's when it hit me. Nathan has green eyes while James and I both have brown. Anyone who understands genetics knows recessive traits like green eyes can skip generations. But Sarah had been making passive-aggressive comments for years, implying that James might not be Nathan's father. I was furious. It was bad enough she constantly undermined me, but now she was targeting my child. We decided to let Nathan take the test if he wanted to, confident it would confirm what we already knew: James was his father. Nathan was excited about the science behind it, so we helped him complete the test. Meanwhile, Sarah's son, Tommy, had been watching everything unfold. Being a curious 14-year-old, he decided he wanted to take a DNA test too. Sarah's husband, Todd, thought it would be a fun family activity and got a kit for him as well. What started as a simple curiosity turned into a complete disaster. A few weeks later, Nathan's results arrived. Everything was as expected. James was, without a doubt, his father. But then came Tommy's results, and that's when everything unraveled. Todd was not Tommy's biological father. Sarah had been hiding a devastating secret. She had an affair, and Tommy wasn't Todd's child. Todd, who had raised Tommy as his own, had no idea to make things even more devastating. Todd decided to get a paternity test for their younger daughter, who was only 7. The results confirmed his worst fear. He wasn't her father either. Sarah's life was unraveling before her eyes, and it wasn't a quiet or private downfall. The entire family found out, and the consequences were severe. Todd wasted no time filing for divorce and moved out within days. The irony was undeniable. Sarah had tried to destroy my marriage, but in the process she exposed her own web of lies. The one who suffered the most was Tommy. Nathan was also deeply affected. He and Tommy had always been close, and seeing his cousin in pain shook him. He started asking questions about why Tommy's father had disappeared, and it broke my heart to hear how worried he was. As Sarah's life spiraled, Todd fought for full custody of the kids, determined to limit her role in their lives. At family gatherings, she was a wreck, pale, red-eyed from crying, and completely defeated. Then out of the blue, Sarah reached out to me, asking for help. She wanted me to talk to Todd, to convince him to be more lenient with the custody arrangement. She was desperate to salvage what was left of her relationship with her children. First, I was stunned. How could she have the audacity to ask me for help after everything she had done to sabotage my marriage and create chaos at every turn? I ignored her calls, refusing to acknowledge her pleas. But as the days passed, I kept thinking about Tommy. He was the true victim in all of this. None of it was his fault, yet he was the one suffering the most. James, of course, warned me to stay out of it. He believed Sarah had made her bed and now had to lie in it. But I couldn't help wondering, was there a way to bring some peace to the children caught in this mess? They weren't responsible for their mother's mistakes. I found myself at a crossroads, torn between helping Sarah for the sake of the kids or letting her face the consequences of her actions. What would you do in my position? I wanted to share an update on what's happened since my last post. I hope this sheds some light on the complexity of the situation. Sarah hasn't stopped calling me, it's exhausting. I assume she would eventually give up, but she hasn't. She's relentless. One particularly awful day, she called 3 times back to back, leaving long, tearful voicemails. I could hear the despair in her voice, but honestly, I felt little sympathy. James, usually the calm one, finally lost his patience. He had enough. He grabbed the phone and called her himself. He rarely gets angry, so when he did, I knew things had escalated. From across the room, I could hear him snapping, telling her he was done with her manipulating our family and disrespecting me. After that call, things took a turn for the worse. Sarah's messages became even more erratic, flipping between begging for my help and accusing me of ruining her life. She was desperate, pleading with me to talk to Todd and fix things. The next thing I knew, she was calling me manipulative, accusing me of being jealous of her and her family, and claiming I was trying to ruin her marriage. But through it all, my only concern has been the children. They're the ones suffering the most, even though they had no part in this mess. I can't stop thinking about Tommy and Nathan. Learning the truth about his real father must have been traumatic for Tommy, and it's clear he's struggling to process it. Watching him go through this pain without being able to help is heartbreaking. Nathan, on the other hand, doesn't fully understand what's happening, but he senses that something is wrong. We've tried explaining it, but he's still too young to grasp the situation. A few days ago, we had a family gathering, and Nathan was excited to play with Tommy like he always did. They used to be inseparable, but when Tommy arrived, he was quiet, withdrawn, and barely interacted with Nathan. Nathan kept asking him to play, but I had to make excuses, telling him Tommy was just tired. Meanwhile, Sarah keeps sending me these long, dramatic messages. Just yesterday, she said she felt betrayed by our family. I don't understand how someone who is unfaithful can claim betrayal, yet she refuses to take responsibility for her actions. It's always someone else's fault, mine, James's, Todd's, but never hers. James believes we should step in and support Tommy, especially since he and Nathan are so close. But he's also worried about the consequences of getting too involved in Sarah's situation. We've been trying to balance supporting the kids while maintaining our own peace, but it's been harder than we expected. Now, Todd has started reaching out to James, making things even more complicated. He wants to understand what really happened and asked to meet up. James reluctantly agreed, and when he got back, he seemed more conflicted than ever. Todd is devastated. He told James he feels like his whole life has been a lie. Now he's trying to figure out how to co-parent with Sarah after everything that's happened. Talking to Todd only made James feel more torn. Todd is a good man trying to do right by his kids, even in this horrible situation. After hearing Todd's side, James feels even more uncertain about what to do. He wants to help, but we both know that getting too involved could pull us deeper into Sarah's chaos. It's hard to know what the right decision is. Every time I see Tommy, I just want to help him. He's an innocent child caught in the middle of all this, and he doesn't deserve it. Nathan keeps asking why Tommy always looks so sad, and it breaks my heart that I can't give him an honest answer. The more I think about it, the more torn I feel. Should I step in and help? Or should I protect my own family from getting dragged into Sarah's mess? At the end of the day, all I want is to protect the kids. Tommy and Nathan deserve better, and it hurts to see them suffer for their parents' mistakes. I don't know what the future holds, but I hope we can find a way to make things right without causing further harm. I'll keep you updated on everything that unfolds. Once again, thank you for your continued support. Update 2. A lot has happened over the past few days, so brace yourself. It's been overwhelming for all of us, and honestly, I don't know how much more I can handle. First and foremost, Sarah decided to move forward with an official medical paternity test. She wasn't satisfied with the results from the home DNA kit, arguing that it wasn't a reliable source for such a life-altering decision. To be fair, home tests do have a margin of error, and I guess she was clinging to whatever little hope she had left. However, the results remained unchanged. The medical paternity test confirmed what we already knew. Todd is not Tommy's father, nor the father of Sarah's daughter. Instead of proving her right, Sarah only dug herself into a deeper hole. I wasn't surprised by the outcome, but now there was no room for doubt. Todd, in particular, seemed to be bracing himself for the worst, but when the medical results arrived, I could see how devastated he was. It was like watching the last shred of hope he had left get ripped away. He had previously told James that he wasn't expecting a miracle, yet deep down, a part of him had still wished the test was wrong. After receiving the news, Todd became more withdrawn. He started digging for answers and eventually tracked down the man Sarah had allegedly been having an affair with. Todd later told James that the guy was one of Sarah's co-workers, a suspicion he had had for a long time. Sarah always dismissed it, insisting their relationship was purely work-related. But now Todd saw everything clearly. He remembered all the times Sarah and this man were unusually close, attending work events together, texting late into the night. She constantly made excuses, assuring Todd it was innocent. But now, every suspicion felt like it had just been confirmed. Determined to confront him, Todd found the man's home and went there without telling anyone. From what I later found out, Todd wasn't in a good mental state. He was angry, hurt, and desperate for answers. Things quickly spiraled out of control. At first, the man denied everything, but Todd refused to believe him. What started as a heated argument quickly turned into a physical fight. Neighbors heard the commotion and called the police. By the time officers arrived, both men were bruised, and Todd was arrested for assault. Now he's facing legal trouble. James had to rush to the police station to help Todd, posting his bail, but the situation is serious. Todd insists the fight was provoked, but proving that in court won't be easy. Everything is unraveling so fast, and I can't help but feel that all of this stems from Sarah hiding the truth for so long. Todd is breaking down. It's heartbreaking to see someone who was always so composed fall apart like this. Meanwhile, Sarah is scrambling to control the damage, but it's far too late. Todd has officially filed for full custody of the children, and Sarah is in a panic has set in. Sarah is trying to convince everyone that Todd is the real problem. She's labeling him a psychopath and using the fight as proof of his instability and potential danger. She's terrified Todd will take the kids away, and she's lashing out at anyone who doesn't side with her. Todd has been talking about moving to another state with the kids to create distance from Sarah. He believes they deserve a fresh start, away from the chaos. I understand his desire to protect them, but I'm not sure separating them from everything they know is the right move. Legally, it will be a tough fight. The last time I saw Sarah, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were puffy and red, and she kept saying everything was falling apart. She felt like everyone was trying to take her children from her. She was clearly having a panic attack. Despite all of this, she still sees herself as the victim. I feel like we have no choice but to get involved now. We're already tangled in this mess, whether we like it or not. James thinks we should back Todd and help him with the legal issues he's facing, especially since Todd seems to be the more stable parent. I agree with this approach, and I'll keep you updated on what happens next. Right now, we're just trying to hang on and hope for a resolution that won't completely ruin these kids' lives. Update 3. I have a lot to share since my last post. First, let's talk about Todd and the man Sarah had an affair with. You already know how Todd was detained after things got physical. At first, we thought Todd might be facing serious assault charges, but the man chose not to press any charges. Todd told us that this man wants to stay out of the whole affair now. He clearly realizes that getting involved would only make things worse for him both personally and professionally. Even though he admitted to the affair when the police arrived, he's cut off all contact with Todd and Sarah. In many ways, that chapter is over, and I think that's for the best. Todd doesn't need to keep fighting with someone who clearly doesn't care about the fallout of his actions. A lot of people have asked me about Tommy's sister, and why I haven't mentioned her as much. Like Nathan, she knows what's happening but doesn't fully grasp it. She doesn't seem as affected on the surface, but deep down I believe she's grieving in her own way. She just hasn't shown it as much as Tommy has. Tommy is older and more mature, so he understands the situation better, and it's clearly affecting him more. That's why I've focused on him more, even though both children are victims of their mother's behavior. James and I are here to support both of them, regardless of their parents. Tommy's situation has worsened. Some of the kids at his school have started bullying him, leading to more fights. And it doesn't help that Sarah is filling his mind with more negativity, Tommy believes everything is his father's fault, and he knows his mother cheated on Todd. He also understands that Todd isn't his real father. Despite this, Sarah has told Tommy that she cheated because Todd was cruel to her. This shows how willing she is to tear apart her family rather than try to fix it. In my opinion, that's a terrible thing to say. Todd has done everything to fight for his kids. All he wants is to get away from Sarah, which is understandable given how manipulative, deceitful, and unfaithful she's been. What I can't wrap my head around is how Sarah, the one who caused so much pain, can act like the victim while she keeps making everyone's lives harder. But I guess it's just who she is. She did what she did because she's a selfish person who will continue to make these choices to benefit herself, even if it means hurting others. This is one of the reasons why James and I believe children shouldn't grow up with an unfaithful parent. It sets the worst example and can seriously mess with their upbringing. We really hope Todd gets full custody because if Tommy stays under his mother's influence, things won't end well. His little sister will probably suffer even more since she's younger and doesn't fully understand what's going on. Over time, Sarah could manipulate her, turning her against Todd. There's even a chance she might start acting like Sarah, thinking her actions were okay and blaming others for everything. Right now, James and I are completely on Todd's side, and on the kids' side too. Todd genuinely wants to be a good father. We also believe that neither Sarah nor the biological father is what the kids need. Their best shot at a stable future is with Todd, and we'll support him and the kids any way we can. Even James' whole family, including my in-laws, are backing Todd. Sarah's parents are really disappointed in what she's done. For instance, the other day, we chose not to attend a family gathering. We had another commitment, but we also wanted to stay out of the chaos surrounding Sarah. It was hard watching Nathan deal with everything Tommy's going through. At the gathering, Sarah started her usual rant, trying to paint Todd as the villain. But my father-in-law stepped in and told her to stop because all she was doing was causing more harm. He pointed to Tommy, who was sitting across the room, and said, "Don't you see the damage you've caused? Don't you realize how much you're still hurting everyone? Especially your kids? We don't deserve this. Own up to your mistakes and start acting like an adult." My mother-in-law added that she never raised Sarah to act this way, and hoped her granddaughter wouldn't follow in her footsteps. Sarah threatened to leave with the kids, but no one supported her. My father-in-law told her she could leave if she wanted, but the kids were staying. He said they needed to stay away from the chaos she had started and that he'd bring them back later. Sarah left, but the kids stayed to play. Later, my father-in-law called Todd to invite him over, and he didn't hesitate. When he arrived, he said the kids seemed much better, but it wasn't a complete fix. Being separated from their mother is actually the best thing for the kids right now, because her toxic behavior was harming them, something no one in the family wants. Well, except Sarah. She doesn't seem to care about her children as much as she cares about how she's viewed and keeping control. A real mother wouldn't use these games to hurt her kids. She would focus on protecting them from everything. But of course, a mother wouldn't cheat on her spouse, right? Yet here we are. Update number 4. The latest on my sister-in-law and her kids. Things are looking up for the family. To begin, my sister-in-law found out that Todd was invited to my in-laws' house after she left, and she was furious. She went over to their house and confronted them, thinking they should side with her instead of Todd. But my in-laws made it clear they would always support the kids, and if Todd was helpful to them, they'd back him. This only fueled Sarah's anger. After screaming, she grabbed something from the garden and threw it at her parents' car window. To sum it up, it's a mess. My father-in-law ended up suing her, and she had to pay for the window. I mention this because it became relevant later in the custody case. Todd's divorce went pretty smoothly since there was plenty of proof Sarah had cheated. So Todd came out on top in the divorce. But let's be honest, no one really wins in a divorce, especially one caused by cheating. At least Sarah couldn't take anything more from Todd than she already had. Now, the custody battle was anything but easy, but Todd won. It was a tough fight because Todd isn't the biological father of the kids. Still, after months of legal battles, he succeeded. Some family members, including James and my in-laws, testified about Sarah's character, and the car window incident didn't help her. The judge even considered giving full custody to Todd instead of Sarah, which is rare. The final blow came from the biological father. He showed up, but only to avoid paying child support if Sarah kept custody. Now that Sarah doesn't have custody, she can't take him to court for child support, since she has no child-related expenses. Todd now has full custody of both children. Things are already starting to improve, especially for Tommy and his sister, who have started therapy. Sarah can visit the kids, but only under supervision. On the other hand, my in-laws can see them anytime as long as Todd agrees, and so can we. This has even helped Nathan, who can now play with Tommy. There's still a lot to work through, but things are slowly getting back to normal. I'm not really sure what to say about Sarah. I haven't been in touch with her for a while now. I blocked her, and since then I haven't heard from her at all. She sends occasional messages to her parents and James, but things between them are pretty tense right now. Honestly, I'm not sure if that will ever change. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, so you don't miss any more shocking real-life stories happening all around you.